rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, music, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. It's a lifestyle. We are the culture. Thanks for tuning in. Today's show is brought to you by New Florida Majority. Sign up to vote from home. No lines, less contact, lower risk. Go to floridawill.vote to request your vote by mail ballot. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jessica Garrett Modkins, your host, and we are honored today to have Deputy Mayor Maurice Kemp with Miami-Dade County joining us. Welcome to the show, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. We have so much that the county is offering to residents as it relates to COVID-19 awareness, contact tracing, and the like. Just wanted to bring you on today so that our viewers will be able to hear directly from you on what the county has been doing and what you are doing. So recently, Florida Governor DeSantis issued mandates on opening. And we saw as a result of that, Mayor Jimenez issued an emergency order on how that would affect our county, our new normal. Can you explain where we are with face masks, curfews, fines, and businesses opening for residents?
Yes, I can. As you indicated, last Friday, the governor issued an emergency order that pretty much conflicted with what we were doing here in Miami-Dade County, both as a county and with our municipalities to help keep our citizens safe. So we being the mayor, consulted with our attorneys, and we figured out a way to try and make as much lemonade out of the lemons as we could. So what we did was we modified our orders so that they did not contradict the governor's orders, but we want to make it clear to our citizens that the county rules, for the most part, is still in effect. For instance, the governor mandated that bars could open and that restaurants could open. Basically everything, all businesses could open. But if you're, for instance, running a restaurant, the governor mandates that you can be open to at least 50% capacity. And if we were to limit you to 50%, we had to meet certain criteria as far as providing information on how that affects your business. So what we're doing is you can go to 50% under any circumstances, but you still must have the mask requirements while you're in a restaurant, except when you're eating. And you still have to have the tables at least 6 foot apart. And the only exception to the 6 foot distancing in restaurants and bars is if you can't make it to 50% with the 6 foot, then you can have them less than 6 foot apart. But if you're going to go above 50%, you have to maintain 6 foot distancing and all the mask requirements. And if you're running a bar, you can only drink seated at the table. And when drinking is the only time you take your mask off. And a nightclub, for instance, of course, there'll be dancing, but you're expected to have your mask on while dancing. And all the other provisions that were in place before the governor's order, all the other county provisions are still in effect. For instance, the governor prohibited the collection of individual fines. Well, we will still be able to issue individual civil citations. We just won't collect on those fines until the COVID period is over. But it is and has always been a second-degree misdemeanor to violate the mayor's emergency orders. So that doesn't change. So if a business is not abiding by the rules, our law enforcement, our code enforcement, our fire officials will go into that business and ask them to abide by the rules. And if they don't, we will shut them down as we were doing before the governor's orders. So the bottom line, the message to the citizens is everything is open, but the rules still apply. And for individuals moving about the community in Miami-Dade County, we still expect and will enforce the need for mask wearing, because that is the most effective tool we have in fighting this epidemic, this pandemic.
And we are still currently under a curfew.
Yes, ma'am. The curfew is still at 11 p.m. as it was before the governor's orders. That has not changed, and we are enforcing the curfew.
how would that work with nightclubs?
Well, you can open. We can't stop you from opening. You will follow the COVID rules, and one of those rules is that there's 11 p.m. curfew.
Okay. Now, you all have countywide testing sites. About how many do you have?
So we have 12 fixed county affiliated test sites, and I'll provide you with a list. But we also have included in that 12 are several what we call pop ups, meaning we'll take the test site to the area that's most affected by COVID, and we'll leave it there for as long as we need to, and we can shut it down and move it to another site with a day's notice. In addition to the 12 fixed sites, we have 8 mobile sprinter vans that can take testing wherever the need is. We can go to a Publix parking lot. We can go to any facility that needs to be tested. We can take the mobile sprinter vans. They're self sufficient. They don't need any support, and they can test up to 250 people per day. Um, we can go. We have 8. We can go up to 12 of those vans, and we've been deploying those for a couple of weeks now. We'll continue. At our fixed sites, several of the sites offer antibody and antigen testing in addition to PCR. The PCR is the test most people are familiar with. That is the gold standard for COVID testing. All of our sites offer PCR testing, but several of them also offer antigen and antibody testing.
What is the
And
difference between
I'm
those?
sorry I
Okay.
cut you off. One thing I forgot to mention is um, in Miami-Dade County, we also offer in-home PCR testing for seniors and any homebound citizens, and that's we've been doing that for since early in the COVID pandemic.
Well, before we leave this topic, how would those senior citizens be able to request that type of service?
I'll provide you with the phone number
Okay.
that you can they can make the call, and also MiamiDade.gov is a wealth of information on testing. All of our sites, including the senior testing, that information is available on MiamiDade.gov, and you can make appointments for any of those sites, or you could just walk up or drive up. Uh, if you could express to your viewership that since our positivity rate has decreased in Miami-Dade County from over 20% to about 5% now, the demand for testing has decreased dramatically. We can test up to 70,000 people per week at our sites, and we're now testing about 25,000 per week. So the message that I would like to relay to the citizens is anybody in Miami-Dade County that wants a COVID test can get one with little or no wait time. And that information is the most important information you could have, your positivity status, as you try and protect your family and your coworkers.
And then, of course, the testing is free. It's not a
The testing
charge.
is free. We're not asking for insurance information. We're not asking for payments. We want you to get tested.
And then you mentioned three different types of tests. Can you give us in layman's term what the difference is?
Yes, the as I mentioned, the gold standard is the PCR. That's the test that most people are familiar with. That is the test that at one point was taken an extended period of time for us to get results. That is the most sensitive test, the PCR, and our turnaround times now are less than 3 days. In most cases, you get your results in 1 to 2 days. And then we also have at several sites the antigen testing. This is the quick test. With this one, you'll have a result the same day. And then the final one is the antibody test, which is the one that tells you if you've ever been exposed to the virus and that you have antibodies. And so those are the three types of tests. The PCR is offered everywhere. The antigen and antibody have been offered at the Hard Rock Stadium, the Marlins Stadium, Tropical Park, and Amelia Earhart. And so those are the three types of tests, and that's how they're used.
Okay. And then I noticed that you all launched here recently contract tracing. What is that?
Okay, so contact tracing is nothing new. It is if you test positive, the Department of Health will contact you and ask you, first of all, reconfirm that you're positive, but also get information from you as to where have you been and who are some of the people that you've been around during what they would consider to be a contagious period. That is traditional contact tracing. And in Miami-Dade County, we provided a $14 million grant to the Department of Health. The Department of Health is responsible for contact tracing. That is their charge. But we gave them a $14 million grant. Before the grant, they had just over 300 contact tracers dedicated to Miami-Dade County. With the grant, they now have 631 contact tracers dedicated to Miami-Dade County. The contact tracing interview or phone call is a voluntary participation. And the challenge that we're having now is a lot of people are declining to give information, which only hurts our efforts to control this pandemic. Now, in addition to the Department of Health's contact tracing program, the county implemented two additional programs. One is the Combat COVID MDC app, and it can be downloaded from Apple or Google Play Store. It uses Bluetooth connection, and once again, it's free, it's voluntary, but what it'll let you know is if you've been exposed to anybody who also is using the app and have confided anonymously that they're positive. So this app will let you know if you come in close proximity to somebody else who's positive. And then another thing we have is the Community Empowerment Program. And this is a web-based survey of individuals who tested positive. And once again, it's voluntary. And what it allows us to do is to put on a map that you'll see online the hot spots of positivity in our community. And what it also allows us to do is we have surge teams that go into the hot spots with literature, with PPE, and just talk to people and let them know what resources are available in the county. And also, so this app allows us to better target zip codes and census tracts that are hotspots in Miami-Dade County. And then finally, we have a digital marketing campaign, which are TV and radio ads that encourage people to participate with contact tracing and let them know about the apps and encourage them to access these free resources. And all of this information is available on the miamidade.gov/coronavirus site.
Now, is that new map that you all have, does that replace the efforts that were early on that were identifying how many people tested positive within a zip code?
No, it's in addition to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a dashboard that is on the county site that's full of information about how many people are hospitalized, how many people are in ICU, how many people are on ventilators, how many hospital beds are left, what is our positivity rate that day, and what is the 14-day positivity rate. The dashboard is updated daily, and it has a lot of valuable information, including, unfortunately, the number of people who die from COVID in our community.
And then as it relates to the senior citizens, I do remember there being food being offered and other services to seniors. What are your current efforts?
In March, around March 16th, we kicked off our senior meals program, and that was made necessary because the mayor issued an emergency order closing all senior community centers and all adult daycares in Miami-Dade County. And that was obviously in an effort to protect the most vulnerable. But if you're going to close the centers where seniors get services and where seniors get food, it makes sense that you provide the food and the services through other means. So we launched our senior meal program, and to date, we've served over 12 million meals. At our peak, we were serving 85,000 seniors a day, and we've spent over $112 million protecting this vulnerable population. But it's been a very successful program, and it's very difficult to quantify how many people did not die, but we do know that this program has saved lives and kept our seniors at home. The flip side of that is, as of last Friday, these centers are now allowed to reopen.
Mm-hmm.
But we will continue to feed the folks who don't get services at the community center, so you still can stay home as a senior and be protected. And we also are still doing our mass feeding at our parks. We have 5 locations that we are doing mass feeding every week at the parks. And that information also is available on the county's website.
Okay. And then housing assistance. I know that you were offering grants for rental and landlords. Is there anything else that's going on currently?
Well, we have a host of programs that the county has launched, primarily using CARES Act funding and also FEMA reimbursements and county's general fund. Uh, I'll give you a list, but I'm also going to provide you electronically a list if you can disseminate it to your viewers. We have the Small Business Loan Program, which is a $25 million program that targets small businesses. These are businesses with less than 25 employees. And then we have the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. That's a $10 million program that it's, as I said, CARES Act funding. And the qualifications are that you earn no more than 80% of the area's median income. And we have the Residential Landlord Assistance Program because evictions are prohibited right now, but landlords still have to pay their mortgage.
Right.
So this is a program that is a $10 million program, and without a lot of details, it was a maximum of $5,000 per unit that a landlord owns. And Basic Needs Hardship Program, that's a $20 million program. It was we used the United Way to facilitate this, and it provided rental assistance, and if you had a significant loss of income resulting from COVID-19. And we have the Hospitality Income Industry Grant Program. Obviously, this is to target the restaurants and the hotels. Then there's another hospitality. The first one is 30 million. There's a second one, excuse me, that's 5 million. And then we have a veterans assistance program for renters, homeowners, and businesses who happen to be owners who happen to be veterans. That's a $20 million program. And then there's a nonprofit loan grant program for nonprofits. That's 10 million. I think I'm choking here.
Well, I want to say that the county actually has quite an extensive amount of assistance programs that I do believe once we get this information out, I think that everyone will be made aware of it. It's just so much assistance that you all are doing. So we are definitely thankful for the things that the county has made available. I remember at the beginning, there was a lot of assistance going to renters, but like you said, it's the landlords in a number of those instances who are falling behind and quite frankly, afraid of what the future holds with them being in debt to the title companies for these properties and things of that nature. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Any closing thoughts on any of the other assistance programs that you're offering?
What I didn't mention was a taxi jitney for hire program to give grants to the service industry folks who drive, basically, and that's $10 million. And then a hotel worker relief program, that's $3 million. So it's an extensive list, and I kind of ran through it very quickly, but I will email you the list and the contact information and the details as to what the qualifications are, so you could disseminate that to your viewers. That's pretty much it for the relief programs.
Okay. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts and words that you would like to leave our viewers with?
Yes, I do. Um, the COVID-19 pandemic is not even close to being over. We're not even halfway through this. So please don't relax. Please wear your mask. Please follow the other sanitation recommendations. And please get tested. We have more than enough capacity to test any and everybody in Dade County that wants to be tested as often as they want to be tested. Please get tested. know your status, and I encourage you to participate when someone calls you if you happen to be positive for contact tracing.
Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. We appreciate you coming by. Our door is always open for a Miamian and Edison High School graduate, Miami's own Deputy Mayor Kemp. Thank you again for joining us. And to all of you, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on The Culture.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rock Star Media and cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent by Jessica Garrett Modkins. All rights reserved 2020.